Hi. So, in the last video, Justin asked us to reflect a little bit in a journal. So, I was just doing that. And I was writing about a workshop we did online the other day, because that was something new for me, teaching workshops online. And specifically, I was writing about one experience that I had uh, where I asked a question and I asked people to write in the chat box their comments. And it didn't really work that well. Only one or two people of the whole group wrote in the comments, wrote in the chat. Yeah. So I noticed looking at, oh, there we go. Slides weren't changing. I noticed looking at my writing in my notebook, I used some phrases that are really not that helpful. So I want to talk with you a little about how to talk or to write when you're reflecting to get the best results, to really get better ideas out of it. Cómo hablar en una redacción para tener mejores resultados. Pueden notar, estamos usando un poco más español en esa sección, porque reflexionar no es solo de docentes de inglés, se puede hacer con profes de otras materias, con su familia, con sus amigos. No tiene que ser necesariamente profes de inglés y también a veces nos sale más fácil en nuestro primer idioma, ¿no? So, ¿cómo hablar en una redacción para tener mejores resultados? Something I noticed, it's really common when we're describing what happened to say things like los estudiantes no pudieron o no quisieron. So I have like they didn't want to share their ideas in the chat. But when I say that they didn't want to or they couldn't do it, I'm stuck. Okay, it's impossible. So it's more useful actually if I say it like esperaba, right? I was expecting a lot of comments in the chat, but I only got 2 comments. Just leave it at that. Now I have something to work with. And then I continued, so what? I'm trying to understand it better. And I notice it's really easy to just say, oh, the chat box idea was a bad idea, didn't work. But again, okay, bad idea. Doesn't really give me any new ideas, right? So it's useful to say instead, well, maybe they did that because, right? So I was expecting a lot of answers, but maybe people didn't write in the chat. Maybe they couldn't find the control to write in the chat box. Or maybe they were worried about having like spelling mistakes or little grammar mistakes, and they were thinking about it so much and not commenting. Or maybe it takes a long time to write on a cell phone and they didn't have enough time. I didn't give enough time, maybe. That's actually an interesting idea. So those are some ideas. And then I can move into now what, right? And again, it's really easy to say you should. Deberías hacer tal cosa. So I have like, oh, you should demonstrate where the chat box is. And that could be a good idea, but maybe with a different group of students, it might make them feel like it's silly, like it's, I already know how to do that. Or I had another idea that I could give a more specific question, like ask them to write 2 words. And that might work, but in another group, it also might like stop the conversation. So it's something I could try, right? So it's more useful instead of you should to think of it like this is something I could try. Maybe it's right, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't, I don't know, but it's something to try. It's a way to move forward. So here's the thing. Reflection really works when we do it repeatedly, right? So we talk about or we write about what, so what, and now what, but then you have to try something. And then after you try it in your class, go back and reflect on it again. What happened, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's when it really works. So this is the time now to try it again. So I'd like you to get on the phone or maybe on WhatsApp, but try to talk to one of your colleagues and choose something to reflect about. We're going to try this whole process again, but as a conversation. Sometimes it's more fun that way. So, what we're going to talk about first, we need to choose something you tried in a class recently, maybe in person or maybe online if you're doing that now. And it could be something that went better than you expected, that like really worked, and you want to understand why it worked so well and how you can make it happen again. Or it could be something that didn't work so well, like what I talked about, or just something that didn't work the way you expected it to. And don't forget, we're going to use, or rather, not use some of these phrases, right? These are some phrases to avoid if we want to get really good ideas out of this reflection. So I hope you have an interesting conversation, and we've got one more video for you after this.